Hello everyone, assalamu alaikum. So here I have this app and this is the UI, and this UI and app I built using Flutter, GetX, Riverpod and Block. So I built three versions of this app. So over here the first one is GetX, this is Riverpod, and this is Block. But this is actually a complete app. It has both backend, so it does have API and backend and notification and chattings. So all these features have been done using all these three state management systems. Anyway, so I'm gonna allow for this one GetX, and this is Riverpod, and this is Block. Okay, now of course in terms of UI and visual effect there is no change. So here I'm gonna do click on this for GetX, and here I see that we can get started, and this is where it takes us, and this one is for Riverpod, and let's get started, and the same happens here. All right, now for each of them we could log in or sign up. Now for GetX itself, actually I have signed up, so I'm going to log in using my credentials over here, and after that actually we'd be able to use the app. Otherwise we are not going to able to use this app. So I'm going to log in over here, and we'll see that it's trying to log in because it's connected with the server. So data is coming from server, and here we logged in. Now over here we have logged in using GetX. Now I don't have account for this too, so I'm going to go up and go ahead and sign up over here. Now first one over here, I'm going to use the username as Debes Tech, and I'm going to do email address, and here I would do dylan@debestech.com, and I'll, in terms of password, I'll keep it just simple. And I'm going to sign up over here, and let's see. Okay, so we see that we have some response, and it says that user account already exists. Okay, now in that case we are going to use a different one. Let's go ahead and sign up. All right, so here it says that an email has been sent to verify to my account, which is my email account. So that means that I'm going to go ahead and verify the email address. So here I've got the link, and I'm going to click on this and verify this email address, and we should be good to go. Let's wait for it because Firebase verifies our email address. In our app we have used email address verification, and for this mechanism we have used Firebase. Now here it says that your email has been verified, as you can see. So now here we are, and inside this we are going to use the email address, the one that we have just used to log in. So I'm going to click over here, login. So here we are logged in using Riverpod. Now for Block itself, we are going to use Google login. Of course you could do email. Login, but here we'll go ahead and do Google login. So here we are doing Google login. So it means that our app supports custom login as well as Google login, Facebook login, and Apple login. As you have seen earlier, here at the top we had this Apple login. Now we should be logged in using Google. Now as you see over here, you can also use Apple to log in. Okay, beautiful. So our apps are ready. Now this part of this app has been done using Block. So let's go ahead and take a very quick look. So here is this search section, and here is this courses. So if we have a lot of courses, you'd be able to see them from here. And then over here we could also do chatting, and this is our profile section. So that was the GetX version. Now let's see the Riverpod version over here. So once again, this is our search section and course section and message, as well as our profile section. Okay, great. Now block section should be the same, as you can see over here. So now here you could also go ahead and click on this section where it says go and see your lessons. Of course, here you would be able to play videos. Now here I put random videos. All the videos are same though. All right, so the videos are same, but you get the idea. So the teacher would be able to upload these videos from backend. Now let's take a look at this message section using getX. So over here we do see that we would be able to send messages. Here it's hey there, and send messages. And of course we'll have this send images and file section. Okay, so that's what we would be able to do. Here we'll see how this payment section works. So it'll take you to this course section. Earlier we have seen that you can view them as a video, right? But you could also go ahead and buy the course, but the course should be uploaded by the teacher from the backend. As you can see, it's loading. So here we have integrated Stripe payment, so you'd be able to, your users would be able to pay through Visa card, Union card, and MasterCard. All right. So of course, on virtual machine like this, we are not going to do that. And over here, user would be able to see all the courses that have been uploaded by the people in this platform. But of course, this one we also have over here.
Okay, so now we'll go ahead and do this this few buttons over here. One of the things I want to do first before we go ahead and change, I want to change the text, the one that we have over here. It looks stupid, so I don't want to look at that. So I'm going to go inside this widget, and then I'm going to copy all of this and remove it with something better looking. All right. Well, it looks like we have a typo over here, but let's save it first. Yeah, now it looks much better. The earlier section or part, the text was a little dull. But anyway, so now we want to work on this buttons, the buttons that we are talking. So definitely we have to work with this headlines first. Okay, and how to go ahead and work with that? So over here I'll have okay, so list title, I could still like that. And then inside this, we just going to have to pass this title, right? So over here, we're gonna say, it's not a list title, it should be actually course overview or course summary. All right, this makes more sense. All right, so over here we'd say course summary. Of course it doesn't exist, so I'm gonna come over here and make widget course summary, and just like this. And after that, let's return something. And what do you want to return over here? Return reusable text widget. Reusable, I think it should be the last or the first one. Okay, and inside this we're gonna say the course includes, like that. Now if you come over here and save it, okay, we need to return. All right, now it should work. And whether we have an error over here, course summary. Okay, right, let's go ahead and save it. We see the course summary, the button. Now here only one thing I guess we need to change is the font size, and then here instead of 16, which is the default one, we're going to use a 14. So it should become smaller. I think it already did. Font size, did it? Let me change it to 16. Okay, it did actually. 14, so it's much smaller. And as well as at the top we could have this sized box and height 20.h, and okay, So it came down. Now that's fine. And now we need to work on those 3 buttons, as you see over here. All right. Now we had a kind of reusable in our profile widget sections over here, but they are not exactly reusable, and we can't make it reusable directly because we have to make a lot of changes, because the items, icons, everything, they're very different. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to copy this one, and then after that I'm going to come over here. Let's close this. I feel like we don't need this. Okay, so we're gonna put it here, and okay, well, for now this one we don't need anything. Let's see if we can return null. Okay, it works fine. And then there are other places that we need to change. So in margin over here we have this. Okay, width and height. So one of the things that we want to change is this over here. It should be good. All right. And then we have this text. For text itself over here, instead of primary, we want to use the primary secondary element text. Bold is fine, and this should be 11. All right, now let's go ahead and save it. And then there are other things that we need to work. All right, so the first one could be is about over here, text. So the text is, we would say, for example, 36 hours video, and then over here video detail, I guess video detail, that should work. And then over here we could do total 30 lessons, and then over here we could do file detail, and then over here 67 downloadable resources, replace it downloadable, yes. And then over here we're gonna do download detail, download detail. Okay, right. And then I'm going to remove this, we don't need this. Everything else should be so far so good. Okay, and so build a list item. Now here I'm going to call build course. Okay, so that was the text itself, so that is a course summary title, and build a course summary. So here we can just simply say course summary in well, like in list, like that. Now instead this we can call build list view. Make sure that you get it from the correct package. Pages, course detail, yeah, this one, otherwise it will get tons of errors. And then, well, let's see if we have error or not. Now let's come over here and save it. And yes, we already see that it's there, and it did save us time, but I do guess we have few issues that we need to make. First, this size itself became too small. The image size, I would say that. So let's come over here. So instead of having it here like this, let me come inside this and put it here. Most probably with this it'll have a better impact. Let's save it. Okay, it did look bigger right now, and but that's way too bigger. Well, instead of having it like here at the bottom, you could do it actually at the top. So this way it looks better. And now over here, let's see if we can change alignment. So here we do alignment dot center. Well, it's already aligned correctly, so I'm trying to get it where this becomes so big, which we were not supposed to have. Everything else should be okay though. Okay, now if we remove the padding, actually it looked much better, and I think this is more like what we have over here. So with this we are also done with this section. So yes, we are doing great actually, but of course so far nothing is dynamic, it's all static. We're gonna make them dynamic once we are done building the whole page. Now the page itself has to have more information, like over here, as you can also see, we have the lesson list, UI design. Most probably this is a video, so we also need to work on this, and once we're done with this, then we'll go back to our backend and start building on the API.
Okay, great. So now we are going to work on this item over here, this section where we'll have this lesson list and then this UI over here. So that's what we want to do. Now to be able to do that, first definitely we are going to have a reusable text over here, as you can see. So we'll just simply go ahead and copy one of this from here, and which should help us. So, and then we'll call it a lesson list. Lesson list, like that. Okay. Well, that's my earlier app. Okay, now this is where you see that here it says that lesson list, and this is what actually we wanted to achieve. Yes, but of course I think there is a little more distance, so we can just simply go ahead and increase it, in our case just like this. Okay, beautiful. Now next we want to have this list down there, but before that we can just say lesson list title, lesson list title, just like this. Let's save it. But anyway, now over here definitely we want to create a reusable text over here. Okay, all right, so over here we do see that we have build list view. Okay, now let's go ahead and change the name first, otherwise it could be confusing. All right, so here instead of course summary view, we can call it, instead of like that, course summary view, and which should make more sense now. All right, okay, very good. Now, yeah, the arrow should be gone. Now over here, let me do it as a title, and then over here also course summary title. So with this we are being consistent everywhere. All right, okay, great. Now over here it's a course lesson list, like that. So we'll just have we can call it course lesson list. So far we'll have this one, and then I'm going to put a widget over here, course widget course lesson list. For now it would be simple, but actually in future this part would be a little bit complicated, because there are a lot of things should happen in a sense. Like, for example, this is the thumbnail. This thumbnail and of course this one, they're the same. UI has to be dynamic, the title, description, and these are the things. And okay, that's the first part. But since I am saying this is a list, actually there should be many videos over here, or many items, because this will take you to a video page. As you click on this, it should take you to a video page. Anyway, so now let's come over here, and then here you do return container. All right, so here we do width 325.w, height 80.h, and then over here we do, definitely we have to do a box decoration, so that's what we want to do. Now here we do decoration and box decoration. The reason is because you'll see that we have a decoration over here, border. Okay, so that's why we need that. Anyway, so now let's go ahead and do it. Over here, the first thing would do color, and then here we do, now this time we are not going to use any of the color that we know. We are going to use RGB color, like that. So 255, 255, 255. So here opacity is 1. All right. And then over here, inside this, we are going to use border radius, and then border radius dot circular, and inside this we'll have 10.w. all right, and then here we will have box shadow, and then box shadow. Box shadow, and color here, colors dot gray dot with opacity 0.1. And here we do spread radius 2, blur radius 3, and offset says 0.1. Now we have seen this one before. If you still don't understand, you can just leave a comment below and I would try to reply with that how it works. All right, now of course if you save the app itself, come here, well, it looks like that it's already visible, a little bit of it, and as you can see over here. Now that's because our container itself has width and height, but if you take that down, as everything is gone, you see, nothing is there, it's gone. Yeah, so because we have this width and height over here, that's already defined, so that's why we get to see if we have any changes. All right, and as you can see it over here, that's beautiful. And well, now let's go ahead and put a child inside this, but we know that this should be all clickable, so our child would be clickable. Now let's put child, and this time we can put inkwell, and inside this we'll have on tap event, but for now it's nothing is there. And inside this we'll have another child, and that child would be row, and then children. Now take a look and understand. So the whole thing, like this image, this one, and this one, they all would be in a row. In the row, this would be the first child, and inside the child, well,
we could also do another thing. Actually, everything is a row over here, and inside row we'll have another row, and in that row these two are together. So first child in the row, in the second row, this would be image, and the other child would be a column, and this is the container. So what I'm trying to say, right now we have row because we want to put all three together, and then we'll have another row for this too. So that's how it's going to work. So let's go ahead and do that. So over here I'll have another row, right? Now this row is for image, and the text. All right. Okay, let's go ahead and do children right now. And we said that we want to have image and children. Okay, so now image we want to show inside a container, and then that's why we'll have this one, and then we'll do 60.w height 60.h. all right, now inside this we'll have decoration, box decoration, and then here we'll have image and decoration image, and then inside this we're gonna use one more time image and then asset image. All right, now what image to put inside this? Let's see what's going on. Okay, so we want something inside this. All right, and this is the image that we want to put. And what image is this? I think we had this thumbnail and this one. For now everything is static, as I said that we want to and would be changing them in future once we read data from our server, so it should be pretty self-explanatory. Now let's go ahead and save it. If you do that and you see that here it's already visible, and that's beautiful, but it's like a little bit distorted, so we want to take care of this first. Now one of the things we want to do, we want to apply padding to this left and right, and padding inside actually this one, this container. So over here we'll have padding, and then we'll do edge insets, and then only, and here we do say, well, we could do symmetrical, and then horizontal 10.w and vertical 10.h. and now let's save it, and you see that it moved away, and this is what we wanted. Now let's come over here and insert this for image itself. Well, we could set this fit property and a box fit dot fill, fill. Let's go ahead with this. Okay, now it does look a little bit bigger, and we also want to work with this border radius, and that's why we have this decoration. So border radius dot circular, then here we'll have 15.h. let's go ahead and use it. Okay, now with this it looks much better. It does really look much better. Let's add a const modifier, and I think we also have to add one here and add one here with this, so that we don't look cranky, and this is beautiful. Now we need to work on this this one over here. Now I said that that would be as a column. Now we are inside this row, and the first one was this one, and right after this you want to have a column. So let's go ahead and do that. Here you would have column, and then inside this we'll have children, and first children I want to have a container, and inside this let's do a width, say 200.w. okay, and then inside this over here you could have child,
And the child itself, you could do text style. Now for now we just gonna call it UI design because everything is static so far, and that's okay. And overflow is very important one. So text overflow dot click, and then over here we'll have max line. Now max lines 1, that's fine because this is advanced we want to show. And then here we'll have style, and then we'll do text style, and let's do color with this. And app colors dot primary well, let's see, primary text, this one. And after that, font size 13.sp, and then here we do font weight dot bold. All right, now let's go ahead and save it. And this is what we see. And there are a few other things that we would change and check. Now over here we could also do margin. So here we do agencies dot only, and on left say 6.w. All right, now this container could be reusable, so I'm going to cut this one, and over here I'm going to put widget list container, just like this. And there are a few things that we want to set up over here. So here we could just simply do this text size actually, and that would be all good. Because if you see over here, so the text size and the color, they should be different. So that's what we want to pass from here. So, well, we could do double font size and the color. That's it. And then we just want to go ahead and return it. And over here, you just simply do font size.sp. You're good to go. And the color, whatever the color you assign to it. So here we'd say color. All right. Now font size, you could also do default one, like say 13.sp. Is it applicable? So sp is not applicable. And let's see. Oh yeah, right. So here you have to have this one because you're trying to make them like optional. Now here color equal app colors dot primary text. So this is the default one, and this is what we had early, I guess. Now I'm gonna come over here, and here it's a list container. Just save it, and we'll see that okay, whatever we had early, we still have it. And beautiful. Over here you could say list item title, and over here list item description. And this time you can also call list container, and then here you could do font size. You can assign as 10, and color, you could use a different color right now. So here you could do app colors dot primary third element, this one. And we do see we have a bit of error because I'm missing this one. Now let's go ahead and save it, and we see okay, down there it is there. And one of the other things that I've also seen that we need, which is font weight. Font weight, font weight dot bold. This is the default one. You can also pass here font, well, this one, small f, font weight dot normal. Yeah. Now let's get reorganized so that it looks better. Okay, now with this, after reforming, it looks like this. I mean, after reformatting, and which is more readable. Okay, so this is the default one, and this is the one that actually used everywhere. And we do see that okay, it wants you as a small letter, which is correct one. We shouldn't use capital letter. In general, method name should start with a small letter. Okay, great. So now with this is looking great. And we can also do another thing. We can tag it as a private over here, because for now it just be used in this class, not from outside anywhere, because the course list contains this reusable items and they're just here. In future, if we need, we can also make them global. All right, now let's come back over here. So there are a few settings that we need to take care. Now we are inside this column. Now over here we could do cross-axis alignment and a cross-axis alignment for column itself, which is horizontally. We're going to start from start, and of course with this there wouldn't be any change. This is already in the start. And then main axis alignment dot center, and with this we want to be able to come in the center, and which is great. Now with this design, they look very similar, the one we have seen over here and the one is over here. Now we need to work with this icon over here, this one. Now this icon is actually over here, right after this one, for showing the right arrow. So now when I said this 2 rows early, maybe it didn't make sense. Now it should be making sense to you guys. All right. So over here we'll have a container, and then inside this we'll have alignment. We can do alignment later, actually, not now. And then we'll have child, and then image, and then image, asset image for now. And then here we'll have assets, icons, arrow, right, png. And then we need this. Let's go ahead and save it. Now here we do have a bit of overflow issue. Now we can also give them width and height. Say height 24.h and width 24.h. All right, now it's gone. That's great. And now how about let's see if we can push them to this very right. Okay, this is the one that we need, and I think it is doable. Now here we can apply a parameter, a property actually, inside row, main axis alignment dot space between. This should put everything, yes, with this it's looking much better now. And if you come over here, we do also see that there is this space which we don't have over here, and this is what we want to do. And how to do that? To be able to do it, well, simply right after it, Over here we could do spacing, and let's see, the space is actually equal amount. So in this case the space is correct. Beautiful. Well, I know this space has been this part has been very static, but the next part is going to be dynamic. Awesome. So now as we click on this, we'll make a request to the server and retrieve all this data and then show over here. So that means that we should go back to our backend and then work on the API. And once that is done, of course, we need to work on our block again, because with the block you'd be able to retrieve data and update the UI. And then, of course, there are many changes we need to change. But in general, all we need to do, first thing from here, you want to pass a context to all of this, because right now these are all contextless because they're all static. And over here we don't have any block, as you can see. We're working without a block, so we also have to work on the block. So next 1 hour would be building our API, testing the API, and creating the block and update it using the latest data from the server. So here now we'll go ahead and work on this backend. Now make sure that your backend is up and running. So here's my backend and it's up and running. So I'm going to close a lot of others that we had before. We don't need this. We'll keep this one. We'll close this one as well. Okay, right. So first we need to define our endpoint. Now over here, the endpoint that we want to define, that's called course detail. So here I'll have route any and course detail, and we'll have course detail just like this. Make sure they're aligned. Okay, great. Now I'm going to open up course controller. Make sure that you open the correct one within API folder, not the admin folder. All right, okay, great. So this is where we want to do everything. Now one of the first things we could do, go ahead and copy this, and we can put it right below it, and instead of course list we're gonna call it course detail. All right, and as usual we'll have this select method, course model. Everything should stay there. All right, now one of the things that we want over here, because as we'd be clicking on this, we'd be able to get the ID, and then we'll pass the ID to this endpoint. And so we need to grab the ID. And how can you do that? Now in Laravel, you can always use an object inside method as a parameter. Like this is a method name, and then here you can always use, which is available all the time, which is called request, and you can create an object of it and you can call it anything. Now this request actually helps you transporting data of HTTP request, which means that if you get any HTTP or post request, and those data you can get using this request object. Anyway, so now we'll continue. Now about request object, I'm going to be talking in next session, right after finishing this. All right, so here, since this is always available, and we also actually have to import it at the top, as you can see, so we can grab all these things. So from front end, actually we are going to send down an ID, and we're going to save it. Okay, so we'll call it request ID, just like this. Okay, so this ID would be inserted inside this object from front end, and same is exactly as ID. Okay, so here we say course ID, right? So well, we have course ID because we might have a lot of courses in the backend, So that's why we need this ID. And after having this ID, we can match that what you want to select and where you want to select. Now over here, we are going to use this where's function, or it's part of Eloquent model. I don't say model, it's part of Eloquent, and with this we can compare. So here we'll get the ID, and we'll see the ID if matches or not. That's why we'll have this equal sign and ID. Okay. This is the basic programming. When you make a request about certain object or certain item, you have to pass the ID, and then pretty much everywhere either use Node.js like JavaScript, Python, or Laravel, even Golang. It's always where. Okay, the query is the same. You have to match the query, and that's all. So, well, if it matches, then we'd be able to go ahead and get the data from our database. Now, I'm not going to change this field. I'm going to verify it very soon. Okay. Here, I'm just gonna simply say my course detail is here. Now, let's go ahead and save it. Now, we're gonna hit this endpoint using Postman. And how to do that? Now, to be able to do that, first you need to restart your app. Why are we going to do that? Because you see, this endpoint is protected by a middleware, Sanctum middleware, which is for authenticating user request. So that means that you have to pass down the token. So we have to grab the token. So how can you get the token? I think some of the places, as we restarted our app, we were able to print it. Looks like during restart it doesn't print, in a sense that we didn't print it. So I'm going to log in, and then I'm going to print it, because I know during login it's available. This is where this is how we have done this mechanism, right? So let's go ahead and hit enter, and we'll see that it should user exist. All right, so it looks like I have removed all the log regarding token, and that's the problem. Go ahead and find the token, and I think I can find the token if you also remove the log. Where to find it? Let's go to our sign-in controller, and I think over here we can just simply go ahead and print our access token like this one. During login it is used there. Okay, print. So here my token is all right. So I'm gonna have to log out one more time. That's because previously I have removed all the logs because I thought they were not necessary. All right, now I'm going to log in. All right, so a token has been printed, so I'm going to copy this one up to this, not this one. This is just a number. So this is the token, and then I'm going to open up my Postman. Well, a lot of the tabs are open, and okay, anyway, I'm going to use the first one, and HTTP. This time I'm using 127, and then we'll do 800, and then over here we'll have API, and then course detail. And for authorization, we're gonna send the headers, this one, and it should be actually a GET request. Let me make sure that our endpoint is correct.
course list, course detail. So we also have this API prefixed, which is over here. Okay, let's go ahead and hit it. Let's see how it goes. Course detail. Okay, so API course detail could not be found, so it can't find course detail DE. All right, the API route is not found. That's interesting. Okay, here it's spelled capital letter, and here it's spelled small letter. Let's try this. Course detail. Yeah, right. Which means we were able to hit our endpoint. We did that. And one of the things we see that is empty over here. Now that's reason is we also didn't send any data, in a sense that ID. We just send this authentication. All right, and I think we remember as we are doing this thing, we can also print one ID over here, like 2. The first one was the 2, I remember. The second one should be 3. So right now we can post ID, not post ID, I mean send ID in the query. Let's go ahead and do that. So come inside this parameter, and you can also post it from here or directly post it there. It doesn't matter. Okay, all right. So now let's hit enter. Beautiful. So the third one is this. So these are the information that we wanted from endpoint. But of course, this information are not enough. This is just in the course list API, which is this one over here. But actually, we want to have detailed information. For example, when we click on this, we want the course description, author name, and this information, and if there is any video, and kind of payment information a little bit. So a lot of the information we want to get. Okay, so that's why we need to update this one over here. Well, one of the things we see clearly over here, that this one is all about course detail, right? All the course detail, return course detail. So this is what we have seen. All right. Okay, great. Now I'm going to save it. Anyway, so now there are a few things that we want to have in our case. Like these fields, we want to update them. These are not good enough. Okay, before we return, actually we also want to put return some other information. One of the things we also want to return over here is ID. So here we already have ID. Okay, that's great. And then we also want to have user token over here. So let me break a line break over here so that we know how it looks like. Well, I think the formatter is not working. It is supposed to work. Anyway, so now over here I'm going to use user token, and then we also want to have description, as well as we want to have price, and we also want to have a license num, number of license it has, video length, GTH, and we have, well, I think that's pretty much it actually. So these are the things that we want to get. Now let's save it. All right, and now let's go ahead and try on Postman. Of course, we might have error, and we'll see. Okay, looks like no error because every field is there. I thought there would be an error. I thought some of the fields we are missing. So all the fields are here. No, that was for ID3, right? Let me put the ID at the top so that it helps us for debugging. Okay. All right.
make sure you have this comma. Now let's find our postman and let's try one more time. Okay, beautiful. All right, so this is the detailed information. And then over here, if you try one, try two, this is for Laravel course, I guess, and the other one was for Flutter course. Okay, beautiful. And now let's try 4. What we're gonna see, okay, well, it's nothing is there. Great. Now it's being empty. Being empty is fine. We're gonna return this and process this in front end, because in front end we always check it is empty or not. So we just want to return like this. And now over here we have this authorization header, and make sure that it works. So remove the E or any letter just to make sure that it's being protected. Okay, wonderful. It says that login route is not defined. That means that user is not logged in. Why it says user is not logged in? Because to access this kind of API over here it says that you have to have login, because sometime API wants you that you are logged in and then access this. So this is the actually authentication is happening over here. So it's like a guard or policeman. So what happened over here, it couldn't find this token. That what token is this? I don't see or recognize it. So that means that you are either a bad user or you are trying to do something but not logged in. Okay, so this is beautiful. This is for protection. Wonderful. Okay, beautiful. So now we want to go ahead and work for this button on the back end. As I said earlier, that first we will build the API and then we'll come back to this. With this would be done with the backend for a while. So that's what we want to do. Now, one of the first thing we want to do over here is define a new route over here. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. And then here we would say any, and then over here we'll have a method which is called checkout. And over here we'll have payment or pay controller. And the method name itself would be checkout. But of course the method doesn't, or the controller doesn't exist yet, any of this. So one of the first thing we could go ahead and actually I'm going to open up a new terminal over here. And over here we can go ahead and create a new controller. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. So here, since we are using Laravel provides a very convenient way to create controller. PHP Artisan make controller. With this you'd be able to create a controller. It tells Laravel Artisan to make a controller for you, and we're gonna call it pay controller. But we're gonna create it inside this API folder. So here, let's see if we can mention API. So yes. Now if you hover over here and inside this not admin folder, inside this API folder, as you can see, HTTP controllers API, and there's a controller that's been created. Awesome. So this is the beautiful thing about Laravel, that you can use a lot of the things in command line. All right, so that's the first thing we want to do. And the second, actually, you also want to install Stripe, because we are going to have Stripe SDK that installed in our backend, so that we can use it for payment. And so here we're going to have this one, composer requires Stripe PHP. Now with this we'd be able to download PHP packages for Stripe. All right, so over here in your folder like vendor, if you come inside this vendor folder, and inside this you will have Stripe folder, which should be installed after this command, the command that we have run over here, composer requires Stripe PHP. Okay, all right, so it would install the PHP package for it. Now with this we are almost ready to work with this endpoint. All right, so this is our endpoint, and we see that this endpoint is also protected by this Sanctum API, Sanctum package actually. This is cool. Now one of the very first thing you want to do, that you want to see if you can access or not. So over here we created a variable and we'll call it request, user, and we'll get the user object from this request variable. Actually, I'm doing it wrong. I'm sorry. Actually, I should first create a method, which I forgot. So here I should do public function checkout. So this is our method, and over here we'll have this request object we can get from request class, and then we get all the related dependencies to it that's auto available for us, and we can always access some of the interesting properties. One of the interesting properties right now would be able to access that's called user. Now where is this coming from? Now let's go ahead and save it, and then over here I'm going to talk about it. So here simply I could do return, and here I could do response, and then here we just return JSON, and inside this we'll have something like a field. Well, here for now we can have message, and then we can have associative array, and inside this we can just simply return our user object. And let's see how it goes. Now make sure that your server is running, okay, and make sure that endpoint is correct. You have this controller. I guess I don't need this. Make sure that over here it's this one. Now I'm gonna open up my Postman, and I'm gonna open up a new tab over here. I think we already had one, so I'm going to use any of this. And over here I'm gonna just simply go ahead and check API checkout, which would refer to this endpoint and this method then, and if it is the method, then we'd be able to return this response from our endpoint. So let's go ahead and do that and see how it goes. All right, one of the few things that it says that login is not defined, because I think previously we changed our token. So this is the original token, I remember. So now let's go ahead and hit it, and over here you see, so we are getting user information, and beautiful. So we didn't have to pass any of this. Actually, all we needed to pass this token. Okay, now in general, the way it works in Laravel, because your API, these APIs are all protected by this Symptom package, Symptom middleware, which also means that this is an authentication middleware, which means that user can only visit them if a user is already logged in. If the user is not logged in, they can't. So by the time I can hit this endpoint, which is this checkout, I mean the method, that means the user has already logged in. If the user is logged in, actually the user, you can get that user related information from this user method, and which is automatically available inside this request object. Okay, so that's how beautiful with this request object is that it's always available in all the methods actually you want to use for HTTP requests, which is also means that API, and you can grab them automatically, the related information, HTTP information as well as user information, and a lot of other information like cookies and file and a lot of the things. Okay, and that's beautiful actually. Now previously we have seen this one also in login controller or user controller. I think user controller, this one, not this one. I'm looking for the other user controller API. So over here we have seen that even when we create user, this request object is available. So as long as you make HTTP request, you call this request class, and you always make sure that it's actually at the top is imported, you're using it. It's a HTTP request. So every time you make a request API call, this is always available. And since this is available, it gives you other related information that's available at that moment. For example, over here, we were able to grab all this OpenID avatar because these are coming through HTTP requests from our front end. So over here, Postman, this works like a front end. Anyway, so we know that we can always return this one. and beautiful. All of the things I would like to do over here, I'm gonna wrap it around try catch clause, because of the things we are going to do over here, they're very important, and if we make mistake, we want them to be catchable. So just go ahead and create a variable like this, and over here we can just return a response, and there's the earlier one at the top. But of course in this case you don't want to return an error with user information. Here you just simply return error, and then in general you want to return 500 from here, and from here you want to return 200 if this is successful case, and then th get message, this one. So if we have any error, that would be caught over here. All right, and we can actually test that. Let's go ahead and try users. Say for example you have a typo, and then you try undefined user variables. There's a 500 internal servers. This is good. This is good for debugging because it's easy to make mistakes, especially when you work with VS Code and PHP code, because it doesn't give you a better hint that what is going on. With the Flutter itself on the front end, it's much easier. But anyway, now we know that the user object is available because it's coming through this Sanctum middleware. Anyway, so one of the things we want to do right away, we want to get this user token. So here we'll have user and a token. So we get the token object. And how we could get that? Previously, we have seen that if you make the request, all the user related information that's coming from actually user table, which means that the whole user table is available to you for that certain user, based on this token. All right, remember, this is the token actually, as you see over here. Anyway, that's good. All right, what is the next thing you want to do? You also want to have a course ID. All right, now this course ID is not available inside this user object, but we can pass it from our front end. So here we'll have request ID. All right, now of course we need to, if you see over here, it's not available course ID over here. So all you need to do, you need to come here inside this params, and then you can pass anything you like. We can simulate the user has tapped on one of this courses here. That would be more like this one. So the idea would be, you'd be here and you click on that and it would show this page, and then we click on this button over here, and if we do that, then here we'll see that most probably the course related ID would be passed over here, and that's the ID we are talking. But right now we just pass a 3 over here, and we did it on purpose, but of course there is no change over here. But actually we're able to grab this. You can instead of returning like this, you can also just return a course ID, the one that's being passed from front end, and as you can see, it's available. It's beautiful. This is a good way for debug, because a lot of time it might be difficult to debug backend, but if you follow this approach, actually it's very easy. Now one of the next important thing we want to do over here, we want to import our Stripe information that we need for our class over here. So at the top you want to have this Stripe webhook, Stripe customer, Stripe price, Stripe session, Stripe unexpected values, signature verification exception. These are the things you have to have. Once you have these things, then we can go ahead and do further information. Now over here next, soon we have to have our Stripe API key. Stripe API key, actually. We'll be talking about that later. First, even before that, I want to finish this endpoint. This will be coming later because I'll walk you through how to get this. Now, anyway, so here let's go ahead and create another variable, and we'll call it course result. All right, now with this we want to get our course object. Here we do where, and then here we'll have ID, which is equal to the ID, the one that's being passed from front end, and which is course ID, this one. And if it matches any of the IDs from the back end, we also want to get this information about that course. Now right now it's not available, so one of the things we could do over here, we could grab them over here, app, use app models, and then here we say course. All right, now with this the error should be gone, and so far so good. Okay, great. Sorry, the dog is barking, but I need to continue the work anyway. And over here we want to see if there is a course regarding that API, this one or not. Okay, if we can find one or not. Otherwise malicious users can just try to do anything, which we don't allow them. So we'll see if it is empty or not. If it is empty, it means that there is no result that's coming from our front end. So I mean, if we couldn't find anything over there, so here you just want to say, while message course does not exist. That's the one of the things that you want to show. And over here we could do code, I think 400, that, or 403, I think. Actually we can return 400, which is more valid in this case instead of 43. So something's wrong with the URL, which means that whatever you're giving me, that's wrong. Anyway, otherwise we just return over here. Okay, we can say course found. All right, and over here we'd say code, of course. But of course, if you want, you can also return your custom code. It doesn't have to be 200. All right. And what else? And I think there should be another field over here. Okay. Data field. For now, we'll keep it empty. And the same over here. Data. We can fill them up later. All right, now let's come over here and try this. Okay, course found, but if we try 4, which might not exist, course doesn't exist. Okay, all right, color 400, like that. Or we can also say invalid request. Anyway, so let's go ahead and try it. Continue to work on this. So this is we have set up so far, and it's beautiful. Okay, so after this, which means that course exists, and then here we want to create a variable, and we'll call it order map, and it would save array, actually associative array, because we want to have some information about the order. For example, order ID, order token, order status, things like that. Okay. All right, so here we'll have order map, and then here we would say course ID. We want to save course ID over here, and course ID. All right, like this. And then over here we'll have order map again, and here actually should be order map, and order map again, and user token, this one is token. All right, remember this is not access token, this is just the token. All right, access token is the secret key that's saved in the server itself. All right, we are not passing it around. All right, I mean, not like this. Yes, we do send the headers access token in the headers when we access certain items, but we don't pass it around anyway. And then over here order map, and here status. So one means it's a normal status. All right, so now this is where it gets interesting. So after this user and this course ID and status, these three things together, actually we want to make a query. Well, that query would tell us if the order has been placed before or not. Okay, so here we'll check if the order has been placed before or not. If the order has been placed before or not, I mean, if the order already exists, you don't want to repeat the order. From here, you want to return. Okay, so this is what we want to do. Now, to do that, we need a model. So we need order model, which also means that actually order table. Okay, right now our database, in our database, we don't have this one, so we have to work on this. So we'll go ahead and create a model that would help us to save the orders, which means that based on this, we'll make a query in our order table to check if for this token and this ID the user has already bought or not, because this token is unique to each user, while this user has bought this course or not already, and if there is a record or not. If already record, you don't want to buy it again. Users should be able to see it on their own. We just simply return by saying that you already bought it. Okay, all right. Now over here at the top, we can do like this: use app models. All right, order. Well, of course it doesn't exist right yet. We're just trying to write it like this. So here we do a query. And how to do the query? So here we do order res. Well, one thing I think I could go ahead and check actually. Here I don't want to write them like this. I want to use a capital camel format of doing, I think this way, because some of the older PHP versions, they do use the older method like the one you have seen just now, but the newer version doesn't go like that. So it encourages you to use camel convention, which is like this. If there is a second word, it should goes up. All right, so at least with the variable convention, we can stick to that one. And that's what we have been actually doing all this time over here. So far so good. And make sure that whatever the changes we made, we don't have any syntax error. You can just simply go ahead and confirm from here. Yes, if there was syntax error, you wouldn't see that. You'd just see a throwable error. So you can always check things like that. I mean, if you have syntax error or not, simply go ahead and call it from Postman. This is the easiest way to identify. Anyway, so now order result. And what is this order result? Actually, we want to go ahead and check inside our order table using this order eloquent. But once again, it doesn't exist yet, so we can't really go ahead and work on this. It'll throw error. Okay, now over here we could just simply go ahead and get the first one. Now you see it already said that undefined, this one. This doesn't exist. It couldn't find it inside this model, so that's why we have this error. So our next step should be go ahead and create this order table. So one of the things right now we could do, we could go ahead and do like this: PHP artisan make model order. Okay, all right. So it should create order 1 inside this, and now the error is gone. But after that, even if you try to go ahead and run, the error should be gone there though, no problem. But if you go ahead and run over here, you'll obviously have some problems. So here it says that orders table doesn't exist, and this is the error that actually I was trying to talk. Okay, so this is coming, and this is internal server. All right, this is coming because previously we have worked with throwable. Anyway, now let's come over here, and we need to create this tables, because order is an eloquent, and internally it wants there should be a table named orders. Like previously we have created this courses table, but the eloquent name is course. Eloquent, I think the other way to understand is called a table name that should you refer inside your PHP Laravel framework, which doesn't have S. In general, your table name should have S, but when you create the model or eloquent model, it doesn't have S. Okay, all right, because each of them refer to one row in the database table. For example, if courses is the database table name, and one of the rows from that course is referred by course, so orders should be our table name, and then one of the row from that table is order. All right, that's how it works. I mean, the convention. Anyway, now we are going to create our migration files first, and then we'll create migration. To be able to do that, make sure that you come over here, and we have some commands that we have done last time. So I'm going to copy this from here, and then I'm going to put it here. All right, and let's go ahead and put, and don't hit enter yet. Over here we need to change the name. So we want to create a table that has name orders. Okay, so PHP artisan make migration create tables. Okay, so it's been created, and if it's been created, we're gonna come over here, and inside this database migrations, and it should be generally the last one, because these are the things that we have worked before. All right, okay, great. All right, now we want to work with this. Now once again, I'm gonna come over here, and I know that I have some examples over here. We are not going to run this one yet. We don't need that. That was just an example. So I'm going to copy all of this from here, then come over here, and just replace them. All right, and some of the things that we don't need right now, of course, type ID we don't need, description we don't need, thumbnail we don't need, username we don't need. These are the things we don't need. So what are the things you want to have in your database column? Well, definitely you have to have this course ID, because, and user token and status. These are the things, because using them we are going to make a query. Now we see user token is already there, and we can also use course ID just like this. Let's go ahead and save it. What else? Course ID, user token, status. Now course ID, user token, and we could also do table and small int, small integer, and then here we could say status. All right, and yeah, like this. And we want to have another one, which is actually total amount. Okay, here we could say total amount, and we're gonna save it like this. So yeah, that's it. And after that, we're gonna come over here, and then I'm going to do PHP artisan migrate. Remember, with the earlier command, it created the file, but it didn't create the table. Now it will go ahead and create a table. Let's hit enter. It says it already did. Okay, running migration, and it already created a table for us. So we're gonna check it. And this is my app over here. This is the database that I'm using, and I'm going to close this and make sure that I refresh it. And then over here I'm going to open up the tables, and I see here one of the tables is order tables, which has been created. And I'll also select rows. Nothing is there, but we do see that ID, user token, total amount, course ID, status, created and updated. So these are the things that is already here. And if you click on this, and you can click on alter table, you'd be able to see that these are the things that we want, and these are the information that we set early. Great. So which means that it's good. All right, and now if you come over here, and we'll see how it goes. All right, now one of the things we could do right away, because since we have this one, actually we could do a postman request from here. Yes, this time no error, because it could find the table. What table? It could find order table, and there was no error, so it just returned us this one. Okay, now simply we could also return data like order res, which is mean order result. Let's save it and hit enter. No, because it couldn't find anything in the database. That also tells us that this is where we can actually check it perfectly. If empty order res, if it is empty, now here we could also just like the earlier response. Okay, all right, so you already bought it. You already bought 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 this course. So you already bought this course. Yeah, that's it. Because it could find in the database, and then over here we would say, all right, okay, it's not empty. If it is not empty, which means that there is a result for this query based on this user status, token and status. This three makes it unique. And then we can find something that means the result is not empty. If it is not empty, then it means that you already bought it. Okay, so here order res. Okay, fine. And I'll just keep it here just like this, no problem. And right after this, okay, we can continue, which means that user didn't buy it. User is valid, so new order for the user. Okay, all right. And over here, okay, invalid request. All right, good. Okay, good. So this is a new order, and over here you can set up your domain. All right, and what is your domain? We can read it from env variable using this env function, which is app URL. Domain, I think domain spelled wrong. Domain, this one. All right, good. And over here I'm going to create another variable, and I'm gonna call it map, and it's empty, and we'll create associative array. So here we'll have map, and inside this we'll have user token one more time, whatever we get, and then here token, and then map user course ID, and then course ID, this one. And you may wonder why we need this. because actually we want to create an order. That's why we need this information. Okay, and this was for query. All right, and now this is the thing that we want to submit in the database. New order for the user, and let's submit. Okay, all right. Okay, great. Now inside this, we also want to get other information. For example, over here you could do map, and then you could do over here total amount, which we already have in our database table. This field, we need that because we want to submit it. And how to get this course total amount, what's the price of this? Now remember, here we can have the variables. So whatever the user is passing course ID for that course, we grab all the information from the database and then we save it here. So we can use this one over here, right? So course result. This course result will have the ID. So you want to get that ID, or you want to get the price, because each course has a price. Actually, you don't want the ID. We already have the ID over here. So this is a beautiful thing. So when we hit over here, we try to get the course information based on the ID. And when we are here, we can also get the price for that result, because so far everything is valid. So over here we'll have another one, status, and we'll set the status to 0. Once we are actually paid, done, then we'll update the status. All right, and then here you can want to get order number, because this is the place actually you want to insert into the database. And here we'd say insert get ID. It will insert and get the ID. And insert what? Insert all this information. Okay, all right. One of the things that is lacking right now over here is this time when the order was created. So created at, and we can use our carbon, now this one, and I think, okay, it can't find carbon, but we know that we should have carbon user controller inside this. Let's copy it from here, this carbon class, and I think we don't need this, so let's come over here, and I'm going to put it here, and you see the error is gone. All right, so with this we just simply go ahead and insert inside the database. All right, and if we can actually right now, we can go ahead and verify it, because if everything works well, but of course the payment is not there yet, we should be covering soon anyway. So now let's go ahead and hit over here, and it looks like it did return us this one, course found and data null. Let's see, course found. Okay, well, first time it should be like that, because the first time it tried to look for the order information if it exists in database or not. If it did not exist, it will continue up to here and insert in the database, and then it should return us this one. That also means that so far this has been done successfully, because we see in our Postman we have this course found, which is this one. Actually, in this case, so far it should be course bought. All right. Anyway, now we can check over here in our MySQL workbench, and I'm going to select this, and we already see that there is a total order of this. Beautiful. All right, but of course this is not what we want, but step by step it's working. Now if you try again this time, it would show you that I'm not sure why it should insert twice. Let me go ahead and check it. and over here let's select it. Okay, yes, we do see that it's been created twice, so we do have a bit of problem. Okay, I know the problem, because I said that the order status should be over here, it's 1, but in our database you see we set it to 0, right? Okay, now I said that this should be changed later after actual payment is done, so we are not changing it here yet. But to simulate this problem, I can set it 0 manually. All right, and this time we look for, and it will say that, okay, you already bought this course, it already exists in the database. Okay, all right, so with this we also verify that, so for every code we wrote, it's working at least so far, and it's beautiful. Well, actually the next section would be all about Stripe payment and using data and like that. Okay, and now here actually we want to set up some of the things that are very important, which we didn't do that so far. Over here we need to set up Stripe API key, secret key. Now how to get that? To be able to work with this, first you need to come to Stripe, create an account, and then you need to come to this developer sections. Now creating an account is free, you can just go ahead and create one. I mean, that's simple as that one. Anyone can go ahead and create, and click on this developer sections, and now come over here inside this API. Well, here there is this 2 keys, publishable key and secret key. Now we are going to use this one, so go ahead and click on this. It'll reveal your API, sorry, it'll reveal your key. Go ahead, have this and copy that one. Anyway, so I have already copied mine, so I'm going to come over here and put it here. So we need to set it up. Actually, we need to set it up from the beginning. So here we do Stripe, and then here we have to have a method which is called set API, and this key. And inside this, whatever you have copied so far, you're just gonna have to go ahead and put it there, and you should be good to go. All right, and we do see that here it says we have Stripe issues, undefined stripe. It should be recognizable automatically. Let's go ahead and put it like this. And yes, of course at the top we have a stripe, but most probably it's a VS Code issue. Let's go ahead and run it and see how it goes. All right, and we do see that it says course found, which means that it was not the issue though. And I can just simply go ahead and put it like this, 0, and then okay, anyway, so that means so far everything is working. It could be VS Code, the problem just couldn't recognize this one. This guy is causing this, but I'm going to turn it off and ignore it. So make sure that you go ahead and have this one, otherwise you'll have problem using Stripe. Anyway, so now is the most important thing over here. We need to create a session. All right, okay, so here create payment session, this one. And to do that, over here create a variable and we'll call it checkout session, this one. And here we'll have session create, which is recognized automatically. All right, and we should have this session from Stripe itself, so it's imported at the top. All right, now inside this there are some fixed things that we need to do. Well, the thing is like this, it's an array as an associative array, and here we'll have line items, this one, and inside this we'll have associative array, and actually it takes two-dimensional array, so that's why you have to have this one, double of them. And then here we'll have values, so price data, this one, and inside this you have to set up different values. One of them is currency, and here you'll have currency as USD. That's what we are using. If you use different currency, you can set it here. And then the other field, product. Now these are the information that Stripe wants, and that's why you are setting them up. It's not the field that we really want, but because we are working with Stripe, so that's why they need this thing. Anyway, so now over here we'll have course result, and then based on that we'll have the name of the course, and make sure that this is this variable course result, which gets a query, makes a query, and then save the variable result in this variable, and then we get the name field because we know that our course has a name. All right, now over here we could do description, and inside this here once again we'll have course result and a description. That's it. All right, so after this we are done with this product data, and then here we'll have unit amount, which is actually our total price. And after this over here we'll use int value, and then here whatever the course price we have, so here we'd say course result, and then it'll have price, and then we multiplied it by 100. Now these are the things actually Stripe wants us, so we just go ahead and do it like them. And then here quantity, I also have to set that, that's 1. And then payment, other payment related information that we also have to do. Now this goes right once we are done with line items. After that, right over here, make sure that after this double braces over here. Now here we'll have payment, and there's another field which is called intent and data. This is some other payment related information. All right, now here we'll say there is another data that is field that we need to set, which is called meta data, this one. And inside this it takes associative array one more time, order num, this one, and here we'll have order num. This one, the one that we had early, number of orders, which is actually same as quantity, and user token, this one is token. All right, we are almost there. And we can just simply go ahead and copy this one from here, and right after this line we'll put it. So they need more of this information, but now this information is actually they internally deal with, so we don't really need to know much about them. They want it, so we just give them. And here mode is payment, and then here you have to have another field, success URL. So here your domain and success. I think this would be returned as a callback if you are successful, and then if it is a cancel, your domain dot cancel. And after everything, if things are good, so over here we just simply go ahead and return. So over here we'd return 200, and the message itself we could just simply go ahead successfully bought the course. And then over here, data itself, as here we'll have checkout session, and then it will have a URL, so it would be returned in this URL. Or over here, actually, instead of this, we could just simply do success, which makes more sense. Now over here, I'm going to test on Postman, and in this case, I'm going to, instead of this one, we are going to have 2. And let's make sure that let us change the status to 1 right now, because over here, oh, not this one, over here, the one at the top. So change it to 1, which means that after this, it'll make a query, and the query result would be empty. And then we create some information and save in the database. And then we actually go ahead and create this payment session. Eventually, if we return from here, actually we'd be redirected to an URL. Anyway, so let's go ahead and click send button over here. And at the same time, it took me with this. All right, well, even though it looks like there's an error, but if we take a look at carefully here, we do see that we get success URL, where it says that your URL success, which actually defines the position over here, like for example this one. So actually, so far everything is okay, and we get success from our response from this Stripe itself. So make sure that you have this code written correctly. You can also check it out from the link below if you think you didn't write it correctly. So just go ahead and copy that, and you should be good to go. Now with this, we are pretty much done with this backend section so far. That means that next we should go back to our front end and actually call it from our front end, and we'll see how it goes from there. Well, for now we are done building this API over here, and we've also done a basic test on our Postman. So this time we are going to go ahead and work with our front end. Okay, so here we are, and our server is up and running, and we have this course detail over here, and we want to work on the front end. And over here, I'm going to have this project open, and let's come inside the slip folder, inside this pages folder, and here we have this course. Now we have this course detail, and previously we had this home controller. So now inside this, we are going to create a new controller, and it will say course detail controller .dart. So we are going to create a Dart class, and just like our home controller, the one that we had early. So here we'll say class and a course detail controller, and inside this we'll have final build context and context. All right, and at the same time we'll have our constructor course detail, and inside this we want to have required this dot context. So wherever we call it from, we'll have this one. So we need to pass the context to it. All right, and inside this we want to have init async method, init method, actually not async method, but it would be asynchronous method. Well, in this case we don't need to make it singleton, because we just call it whenever we need, and when we call, we can create an instance of this. So it's not very important. All right, so this is what we have now, and if you see over here, we had this one. Now a few of the logics, actually we can move to from here, like this logic. Actually we can move to this one over here. Now to do that, over here first we'll have this one, final, and args, we'll have argument, and modal route, and then of context. And now with this we'd be able to grab the ID that's being passed whenever we get clicked. Okay, all right, then we have to use the settings object from it, and then arguments. So whatever the arguments we pass, we have to pass them as map. All right, now let's go ahead. All right, and actually we could go ahead and print this. So here we'd say print, and then args, and we are actually passing ID as we click on this. So here, that's why we have this one. We can print this. And how we do that? Well, we already have this one over here, but we don't want to grab it inside this. Actually, we want to grab it over here, and we can also remove this. We don't need this. Now at the top we can create a variable, and we'll have it as a late type, and we'll say course detail controller, and we'll have an object of it, course detail controller, the second one. All right, and then over here we'll initialize this object, so course detail controller, and we'll call course detail controller, and we simply pass the object, the context. And then from it here we would do course detail controller, then we have this init method. Now whenever actually we click on this, so definitely course detail class would get called, and then whenever the context is ready, then we call course detail controller, and then we pass it. Now with init state, the context ready, being ready, is not guaranteed, but with did change dependencies, when the context is ready, this method gets called, and if this gets called, then that also means that context is ready. If the context is ready, you can pass it around to other classes as you need. So that's what we did. And then over here we also initialize, so whatever the context is available there, and if the context has an ID or whatever the property they have, actually we are grabbing it. Okay, all right, and how to prove that one right now. Now before I go ahead and prove it, one of the things you have to know that this is this. Let's go ahead and find our class, which is home page, this one. Now inside home page, you know that over here we are passing this ID. Actually inside gesture detector, we are actually calling our route, which is course detail. Now this course detail route actually eventually maps to this class over here, so we know that. And as we call this UI, because our route is here, so eventually we call the UI class, and then we pass the arguments. Now as we click on this, we grab the index, and then we pass to this ID. So we name it, actually whatever the index is there, we save it inside this property over here, ID, and that ID actually we grab inside this init method. Now that ID is available wherever we call this init method from. That's because the context is available, and this context also makes sure that over here, the one that I'm passing through, so within that context the ID is available, and it would be passed down to this context over here. So contexts are becoming same everywhere. That also means that I can grab my ID. Okay, that's the point. And if you can Then over here, as you see, we'd be able to print our context, and I mean print our ID actually. So right now we don't see anything, but if you click on this, come over here, you see that ID is available. That's awesome. Click on this, and here we see the ID is available. And that's how actually you use modal route, having the context and get your arguments. So arguments could be of any type. It could be object or string or integer. We are passing it to it as a string actually, not an integer. Anyway, so hopefully it should be more clear that how the ID is passed around from our home page to our course detail, and then how we can grab it inside our course detail controller, which is good. Okay, beautiful. Now we have this basic understanding, and that's good. So we have this ID. So if we have the ID, then actually previously we have seen that we can pass the ID as we make a request, which we have seen over here in our Postman. Like for example, now we can go ahead and verify it over here. So we'll have this API and course detail, then ID equal 3. But of course with this we might not have okay, I think we haven't missing this one here. All right, so this is the course that we had, but of course authorization header is still saved. So now we need to find a way to pass this ID to this one. All right, now one of the things we could do over here, we could create a new method, and we'll call it async post all data. Well, actually async load all data. I think async load all data. And then over here, we're gonna pass integer, whatever the ID is there. Now it could be null as well, and we'll do a checkup on that one. All right. And this would be an asynchronous operation, async. All right, and then over here we just need to call async load, and here we're gonna pass args and ID. All right, beautiful. And if you're able to do that, over here we'd be able to grab the ID. All right, now we have this course request entity, this one. So we're gonna call this one and create a new object out of it. Okay, so here it's a course request entity, and here we'll call it course course request entity. Just like this, we create an object, and over here course request entity dot ID, call whatever the ID that is passing down from here. And what is this course request entity? Course request entity is a class, and there is just one field, which is ID, and we use this class to interact and get data from our server. Now since we are posting data to server, passing data to server, which is ID, and in server you can only pass JSON data, so we convert this one to JSON by calling this toJSON method. Hopefully it makes sense. All right, and right after this, over here we have to come over here, and inside this common and inside this API, actually we already have this course API. So over here we're gonna create a new method, and that would be about course detail. Earlier it was about course list, right? So here it's a course API, this one dot. Now here we'll have a method course detail, and then inside this we have to pass params, but this method doesn't exist yet, and here course request entity. All right, of course this doesn't exist, so we'll get an error. So what we need to do, we're going to come over here and we are going to copy this and put it here. All right, so instead of course list, here we'll say course detail. Now inside this over here, we are passing this one, we are passing this ID, and that's a course request entity, and we'll call it params. All right, now over here we'll have an endpoint. Our endpoint name is course detail. And apart from that, so we mentioned our endpoint, we also need to pass query parameters. So here it's say params, and it could be empty, that's why here we'd say this question mark, and then we call toJSON. All right, now we know that course entity has a method toJSON. All right, and if you come over here, post, so over here we have this query parameters. So this is where actually we are passing the data. Now if you see earlier over here, now in this case we are just passing this one, but we didn't have any query parameters earlier. Okay, so this could be optional. Okay, in earlier case, that's why we have this one, this optional. In earlier case, when we first made a get request, actually we didn't pass any query parameters, even though we said post. Actually it works more like a get request, and over here we are passing parameters, and okay, it talks with the server and pass the information. That information, which is the ID, actually we were able to grab inside this over here. Okay, all right, and this ID, the spelling is same as exactly the ID that you see over here. Okay, if you say to spell it wrong over here, I mean actually it should be this one, not that one, this one. That's not just not gonna work. Okay, all right, eventually actually this one, I'm sorry, I mean this one, if you somehow change this one and over here, it's not going to work. All right, sorry. Anyway, so hopefully it makes sense. So anyway, so we have this one, and then if you remove it, the error should be gone, I guess. Course detail, course API, and why do we have this error? Course detail, params, course, let me check, course request entity here. Oh, okay, now I got it. So here it wants you to have inside this optional like this, so that's why you have to have it inside this curly braces, and hopefully the error should be gone. All right, so with this we'd be able to make a call to the UI, and if we do that, then we'll get data from the server. And over here we are still using course request, course response entity, and we same as this one, but this time, because remember inside this you have this course item, which is also has a from JSON, and this has a lot more information. The information that we don't need, which is this follow, I think we are not using this one anywhere, so I'm going to comment them. And not only that one, actually I think our scoring is also not there. Well, that's the author item. Let me step back from here. Okay, Actually, okay, over here, this 2 we don't need for now. So earlier these things, they were all built before, and but a lot of the fields are optional, so we didn't have any error. But one of the thing we might have right now, which should be an error, I can guess, because here we have video length and a thumbnail, and as well as lesson num. Well, lesson num looks like it's been here twice. That should be an issue as well. Let's remove that. So lesson num, video length, the description, okay, and make sure that we also have over here video length GTH, otherwise you will get error. This one you don't have to change for now because we're using from JSON method, and everything else fine. Download num, okay, we also don't have this field, so you can just skip this one, and over here it's the same. Okay, all right, let's save it. And we do see there is an issue, okay, with this. All right, now I'm going to restart the app and we'll see how things go. All right, and I'm going to hit on this. Of course, looks like no changes, but well, if there are changes, how to confirm this? So over here we can just simply print like this, response dot, okay, to string. All right, so let's save it like this. Let's go back and okay, here we go. So we can retrieve information to just now. That's about ID 2, as you can see. Now if you come over here and click on this, you'll see that we're retrieving data about ID 3, so which means that everything is working, and we're also retrieving description, price, video length, and the thumbnail. Beautiful. And one of the things we need to confirm that what we are returning over here. So we are returning code, message, and data. And now let's come over here. So, well, we can return our result, and we can save it in a variable. That's what we do. And after this, over here, it's result.code. All right, result.code equal, if it is 200. All right, if the code is 200, which means that it's successful. All right, and otherwise here we would say like this, toast info message, something went wrong. All right, okay, and then we can also print result. So here we could do error code. All right, result dot code, just like this. And with this, I would be able to do a bit of debugging if things really go wrong. Okay, all right. Otherwise, we'd be printing our information over here. All right. Now let's see what we have so far. Now, of course, inside the course itself, we have this information about course block, state, and event, and everything. Well, can you just go ahead and use them? Well, definitely this is not reusable, and we need to restructure our block over here a little bit, and also the name itself over here. Now inside this course over here, I'm going to create a new folder, and I'm going to call it course detail. So let's go ahead and do that. So here, course detail. Okay, now actually I want to move this, both of them, inside this course detail, and I would refactor them. Okay, so it would make the necessary changes everywhere else. That's good. And over here we also have this block, so I'm going to copy this and put it here. All right, and so that would be a copy. All right, great. Now after this, over here I'm going to rename them one more time. Remember where you are renaming. So actually we don't want to call them course detail blocks, just course blocks. And over here we would also do the same. Let me come over here, and because for details we have course detail, we will have the one that inside this, so we're going to change them. All right, and right over here we are going to do the same. And okay, right. Okay, now with this we have a lot of changes though. Now let's make sure that everything is working fine as we had it early. All right, so nothing changes, but in general if you use Android Studio, that should automatically refactor everything, including the namespace. I mean the thing that you import at the top, it should automatically take care of everything, all the changes. Well, in VS Code it might work differently, and if you're on VS Code you have to check that manually, because I'm on Android Studio, and yes, Android Studio is much more Flutter friendly than VS Code. So I do suggest to use Android Studio because it's Flutter friendly, because Android Studio is native to Flutter, which VS Code is not. Anyway, so now we are over here, and let me close them so that we know that we are opening the right one. Okay. All right. So okay. So now of course we don't want to work on this, we want to work with this one over here, and we already have a block over here, but we are going to work from our states. All right, and let's see how it should look like. Now whatever we have over here, course detail states, in this case actually we don't need to change anything, because remember in both course, whenever you show a course and detail, we use the same class actually, because we have seen that actually it contains all the information. Now when we are here on this page, we don't show like the video and the price and the total amount, things like that. We don't work, but when we go over there we use the same class or model again. So for detail states itself over here, so far we don't have any changes, so we're gonna keep it as it is. All right, so that's why the copying from there is useful. The one that we had, we copied from here, but of course we changed the name for this one. All right, now let's take a look at this event class over here, whether we need to change this event or not. Now over here, yes, we don't need to change anything. One more time, it is as it is. All right, okay, beautiful. And now the blocks itself over here, let's see if we need to change anything or not. So far no, we don't need to change anything from here. One more time as well, so it should work automatically. All right, so just the basic refactoring of the code saved us a lot of time. So if it did, then actually now we can come over here in our course detail controller inside this. Okay, So if we can load it, actually over here we want to trigger the changes on the UI by saying that, okay, you have new data available, so go ahead and work with them. All the things I want to do over here, I don't want to print it anymore. All right, okay, so we want to print it from here. Okay, so now here we want to trigger the changes. And how you do that? Well, we have seen it many times, so we're going to use context.read, and inside this we'll have course detail block, the one that we have, and make sure you have the correct one. Now here you see course app pages course block. Now this arises another problem, and which actually I should take care. Now I'm going to save it over here. I'm not going to move it yet, because otherwise in future, and a lot of you, if you're following along with me, we might have problems. So I'm going to close all of them one more time. All right, and then over here I'm going to open all of them, and over here as well, there's 3. And what I want is that here I want to change the name as well, so that it doesn't conflict with the name that we are going to use for course detail. Okay, otherwise we might have problem, which we don't want. Okay, all right, so let's rename this one over here. Just remove that. Remember, this is happening inside this course block folder, not course detail block. Okay, all right, now let's go ahead and change them here as well. Trigger course, I think I'm just going to have trigger course. All right, so these 2 places are good, and over here just remove detail wherever you see inside that folder. And okay, so over here we don't have any issues with this. And what else? Let's see. Yeah, it does look like we have a bit of issues over here. Now that could be that the correct path is not imported. Course detail events and course detail. Okay, right. And okay, hopefully with this we should be good. All right, now I'm going to restart the app, and then I'm going to make sure that everything is as we wanted. All right, and same over here. Right, okay, no problem. So now let's come back to this one over here, course detail. Now over here let's import the correct one, and well, it looks like it's still referring to that one, so I'm going to start over. And over here we'll have context context.read, and then course detail. Well, let's see the path. No, that's not that what I wanted. Yes, this one. Nope, course detail block. Yeah, this one, because I can see the path is correct with this one, course detail block, this one. So you have to make sure that the path is correct, otherwise it will get error. And then with this we have to call the add function, and then here we could say we have to trigger an event. So what trigger we want to event? So we want to trigger this event, trigger course detail, this one. And inside this it needs data. And what data? We can pass result.data. Make sure it's not empty, and let's come over here, and looks like we need to import for a block. is not defined in the packages. Let me come over here. Is not defined in the course detail block is actually defined. Course detail block, course detail events, and okay, let me open up all this three and make sure that okay, while over here I do have states, and then I have this event over here, and then I have this block over here. The block itself, course detail block, course detail, yes, the path is correct. Course detail events, course detail states, and the course detail states, right? It might have the wrong, okay, it could be that this one, and yeah, so this one of this import is at the top is wrong. Make sure this is course detail block, course detail blocks, this one. And now over here it says a course detail. Over here it says that it returns a list. Now if you come over here, so this is not the problem, we checked it a few times. Now let's check it over here, right? Now, so over here we are returning a list, and then we are assigning it over here. So that's the problem. And how are we returning a list? Remember earlier we just copied this one from here. Actually here we also need to change course detail, course detail response entity, this one. Now let's just change this. Yes, the error should be gone. Now if you come over here, the error is also gone. Now one of the other things that you want to do right away over here, you can also check if context is mounted, which means that if the context is available for this certain function in this class. All right, so now let's save it. Okay, great. Well, okay, now after this over here I can also do a print. Okay, print context is not available. All right, okay, great. Now let's come to our file where it says course detail over here. Now over here actually we need to make massive changes, or the change we want to do over here. Okay, we want to cut this one first. One of the things we want to do over here is using block builder. Let's go ahead and do that. And inside this you want to say your block name and state name. So your block name is course detail block, and then course detail states, this one. And after that, inside this you can have it like this. Now here's this builder property. Just simply go ahead and return like this whatever we had. And it looks like we have an issue and course detail block. Now if we come over here, the class itself is course detail block. There's no problem with this. And course detail. So what is our issue over here? Doesn't confirm to course detail block, course. Okay, one of the other changes that we forgot to do over here, let me see whether we are in the right place or not. Okay, this is one of the other things that we did not change, I guess, this file. So let's remove that course block. I think here we missed it. Okay,
So we don't have any issues over here. Now let's see if we need to import it. Yes, so make sure block course detail blocks, actually, which is referring to this one, this file, is being imported or not. It's very important because we just did a refactor, otherwise you'll have issues. And over here also, the reason could be because we changed the block name. And okay, hopefully, and let's see, but of course it should be the opposite. Now here, since course detail, which is the other page, should actually depend on course detail block. Let me check whether we can import the correct package name or not. So over here you need to make sure that course detail block, this one, otherwise you will have errors. So one of the older one was this one. All right, sorry, so there are a lot of changes, so make sure that you have. So it's all about importing the correct block and their path. All right, okay, I'm going to restart it one more time and we'll make sure that. And okay, we do have an issue where it says that list. Here it says that so here it says that unhandled exception list is not a type of subtype of this. Okay, so we are getting a list from backend, but here it's trying to just convert to a map instead of list. And we are having this problem, even though it says from here, then here, and then here. All right, so here's the problem. It is expecting a map data, but it is coming as a list. Why is this? So this is definitely a problem in the backend. And actually I have checked the code over here in backend. When actually we did a copy paste from earlier section. So copy paste is a problem, just like we did for our block just now. We have seen that yes, copy paste does create a lot of problem. So over here, instead of returning one item, actually we are returning get. And what does get do? Get actually returns a collection. Collection is list of items. So you don't want to return get, you want to return a method with a first. Now what first does? First just simply goes ahead and return one item. That's all. It tries to have a match and then it returns one item. But previously we have seen the get. All right. With get you return a collection. With first you just return one object. So it could be collection of objects and first just a collection. That's it. So that's why we had this error. Now, well, if you save your code and now you come over here, you'll see the error is gone. And it's beautiful. Okay. All right. Now, if we did so, now let's come over here. And inside this container, first thing we could do definitely would be able to print something. So let's come over here and see what are the items we can access. So here we could do print. All right, and my items. All right, so here we do state dot course item dot to string. All right, so let's go ahead and do it, and let's save it. Let's come over here. Now let's click on this, and my items is which is an instance of an object. So here we could say description. All right, and most probably we need to convert it to string. What problem are we having? Okay, we'll say I think it was not. Okay, one of the things that you have to do is like this one. You are sure that item is not empty, which means not null actually. All right, so here you see that if you click on this, my item, this is great, but you should take it. So which means that we can access our state, and that's beautiful. That also means that over here we can start making changes. Now, one of the very first thing we want to do over here is changing this thumbnail, right? Okay,
because we know that the thumbnail, the one that we had over here, we don't want to access this thumbnail. Definitely we want to access something coming from network. And how we do that? So one of the things we could do over here, we can just simply go ahead and pass a state, and then we'll come over here, and then we can just simply go ahead and say course detail states like that. Now previously we had this decoration image, and then we had this asset image. Now inside this, actually we could do network image, and inside network image, actually we can just simply pass something that's coming from our states, and then we do course item, which is not null, and then we do thumbnail. And let's see, null. Okay, so here's this problem. Let's remove that. It should be gone. Okay, right. And you'll see what we have. Okay, now that was the image path, right? So we also need to combine it with our like host. Now what is our host? Our host is actually this one, app. Let me see, can I access this one directly? App constants dot server uploads, I think this one. And then after this, actually we could just simply do like this, I guess. I think I forgot how to do that. Let me check it. Like I think it has to be one of the formats that you have to use. Looks like no, not this one though. Yeah, that should work. Okay, now if you come over here, server uploads, which is this one, server URL plus uploads. All right, now if we come over here, not this one, course detail widget, actually. So let's make sure you save it, and after that, let's come over here, and we see that it already changed. Beautiful. Okay, great. Wonderful. So which means that now we are being dynamic. That's so cool. So we are able to change this one. All right, and what else you want to change next? So we can also change our course description, like this one over here. Right now, whatever we have, that's we are passing as like this. Now, okay, one of the other thing you could do, instead of passing the state like this, you can also pass a state course item dot thumbnail, whatever it needs actually. In this case, make sure that you send it as a string. Is better to string. All right, now let's come over here. Before we go there, so here string thumb, no, I think thumbnail spells like this actually, and we'll just take it out from here, and it looks like it doesn't need that one as well. Now if you come over here, it's beautiful. Let's make sure the changes are correct. All right, beautiful. And after this, if you come over here in description section, you also need to pass the description. So you can just simply go ahead and copy this, and we can put it here, And in this case, instead of thumbnail, you want to do description. Now if you come over here, so here you'll say string description. Now one of the things you want to do right away, just remove that, and then here you say description, and beautiful. All right, now let's come over here. Well, our description is very short, but as you see, it's already working. Come over here. Okay, best front end course. So which means that in future, well, we have to work on the description itself. Now over here, we should also work with the video length. Let's see where it is. Video detail. Now let's come over here, and the error should be gone. Now it should be somewhere here, course summary title, and then course summary view, course summary list. Now let's come over here, course summary view, and inside this we do see that. Okay, so here we need to change, like right now we're reading information from here, but actually right now we could also access them from our state. So we're going to use that one. And the first thing we want to do, that we want to get the video length actually. So here, video image itself, like the icon itself, could stay the same. The thing we need to change over here is this text itself. Now let's go ahead and do that. Okay, right now we are here, and well, if you go ahead and click on this, you might also observe strange behavior like this. And if you check the log on this, here we do see that here it says that context is ready. So this is the print message that's being printed inside async load all data. And we have an error before that, and here it says that null checker used on a null value. Now that's a very ordinary error that a lot of time happens. And why did it happen? One of the reasons, if you click on this over here, it says that this one actually is causing the problem. So here you said that this is not going to be null, but this is null. So somehow this is becoming null. Why? The reason is because, as you see over here, when we call this init method, what init method? This init method, we call it inside over here. Okay, we call this one, we call the init method, and then it comes over here, and then we load the data. All right, and as we load the data, well, over here actually this triggering events and the states, the related states getting ready takes time, but you are already inside this build method. So build method literally gets called very first. Now we can prove that. So over here, say here I could say my build method. Okay, and we'll see that actually it gets called very first, much earlier than any other things happens. So let's go ahead and restart it. Of course nothing is here, but when I click on this, definitely I will see that my build method gets called first. All right, now here you see my build method. So build method is getting called. That also means that over here my block builder is getting called, but my states and things and context, they're actually not ready yet, and we are trying to use it over here even before they are not ready. So how to prevent this thing? Now one of the ways to prevent this thing is just simply go ahead and check this item is ready or not, whether this is null or not. Okay, and then you can call rest of your widget and the related values. So it's easy to do. So now let's go ahead and do it. So I'm going to cut it over here, and then I'm going to check based on this state. So this is our state variable, which is actually refers to course detail states. And then over here, I'm going to grab my variable, which is course item and object. I'll check if this is null. If this is null, show a container here. Otherwise, you have this one, okay? The actual container which contains our data and the UI widgets. Now let's go ahead and restart it. And this time, we'll see that if we click over here, we don't have this crash. Yes, we do see that white blank screen, and that's much better than showing the other one, like where you have this crash. So yes, now when actual context, actual item is ready, when it is not null, so the state would be notified. Actually, states gets notified many times over here. So here you could do like this. Say, for example, state is cold. Now here I have a variable that I can define here. Now the variable I could do int I equals 0. All right, and then over here when I call it first time, I get increased 1. Okay, all right, so now let's go ahead and check it. Okay, here we are. Now let's click on this. So here you see that, okay, state is called 1 times, which is being printed from here. State is called 2 times. So what does that tell you? It tells you that if your item over here get loaded, and then if you trigger an event until these things are available in your build method, which is inside over here, so this build method would keep getting called, okay, until the data, the new data is propagated on your UI, it would get called. So it is safe to check if this is null or not. If this is null, we show an empty container, and otherwise we just show whatever the data we have. So that's beautiful. Now, well, I don't want to show it like this. I want to show a progress indicator. So here I would do center, and inside this I'll have a child, and then I would do circular progress indicator, and that's it. But of course, if you want, you can also set up properties inside it. Like for example, you could do background color. So here you say background color and colors.blue. And what else you could also set up? Let's see. Okay, I'm going to just do like this and we'll see how it goes. All right. So let's go ahead and load it. Yes, so we saw there was this blue icon that was loading. Okay, that's beautiful. Now with this, we have solved an issue. And this is a common way of loading when you have network requests. All right, beautiful. And now we want to take care of these things. So far they're being used from here, and we want to use it from inside this. So one thing I could do right away, I'm going to cut this and I'm going to put it inside this. All right, well, even now it's going to work. Okay, no problem. All right, okay, now if you go ahead and click on this, we still see no changes. But this actually should be coming from backend. Okay, this should be coming from backend. So how to do that? Now, as we call this container over here, and we know that inside this we have this course summary view. Now inside this we can just simply go ahead and pass the state object. Now the state object, if you're passing, you need to also declare it over here. So here we're gonna do course detail state. All right. Now over here we can just simply cut this on, and then we would do like this. So we'll have variable, we'll take state and course item not null, and I think that should be video length, this one. If necessary, convert it to string. All right, so we'll have hours of videos, and we see that it changes automatically. And over here we could do the same. Here we do state.course item and then lesson, okay, dot to string. So with this, we are not breaking our original structure where we had a map. Now we didn't do it from here because in that case we will have problem accessing the state. Now we are passing along when we call this, so we don't have any problem. So these two fields you see already changed. Now if you come over here, we see different numbers. So that means that we are already being dynamic. And you can also pass around the state like this and grab it. Now how about this one? Now this field doesn't exist yet. If you go and check our backend, so you will see that our backend over here, well, I don't see the images. The reason is over here I have changed my IP address, so right now I'm running on just localhost 127. It could be anything for you, just follow yours. Let's save this. If we restart, hopefully we'll be able to see that. Right now, if you see the fields over here, we don't have like downloadable resources. So we also want to make a column, create a new database column. And how can I do that? Now I already have it over here, the database, so I'm going to open up. So I think that was MySQL Workbench. I'm going to open that up. And then I'm going to select my schemas. And I know that my database table is this one, so I'm going to open up this. And okay. And over here, I think this courses, this one. Now I'm going to select this and alter table. And I'm going to add a new one actually. Now I don't want to do it through migration because in that case, all of my older information would be gone, so which I don't want. So over here, I could just simply go ahead and create a new one. And downloadable resources, and in this case most probably I just want looks like it doesn't have small int, does it? And that's it. So and then I'm going to apply. Now if you're on PHP MyAdmin, it's easy to add, just add a new column. Select your table, and then at the bottom you'll see there is a section where you can add a new column. If you don't know, let me show you. Now I'm gonna give you an example of anything, it doesn't really matter. Say for example you want to create a new column for this one. So over here on PHP admin, you'd select this, and then right over here you can just simply like create one column. So just go ahead and click and then give the name and then save it. Okay, so that's how you should do that. Anyway, so go ahead and do that for PHP MyAdmin. All right, now let's come over here and we'll see how it goes. All right, now we don't have the field yet. The reason is because we need to find our course controller over here. Course controller. Okay, this one, I guess. and then we have to do grid column and downloadable res, and then resources num, just like this. Let's go ahead and save it. Okay, make sure that your column name is correct, and after that over here we can just simply go ahead and copy this one from here, downloadable resources. Let's go ahead and copy. We also need to make some changes in course. I think, well, let me find it. Like here we are, and over here actually, and inside this course response entity and course item. Now here we have to activate this one. Okay, down num, and we also have to activate this one here, and we also have to activate this one. Remember, from our backend side it's coming as downloadable res, downloadable res. Okay, so these three things that you need to change. All right, now let's go ahead and restart the app, and we'll see if we have any issue or not. Let's go ahead and do that. Okay, definitely we don't have any error. Now in that case, I'm going to close this. Now let's come over here and insert this actually. So I'm going to copy this one, and then I'm going to remove this. I'm going to put it here, and then here we'll have down now, I guess. All right, now let's save it. Well, the first one is null because no value was given. Okay, and now let's come over here. It looks like we don't get the value from the server, so that means that we do have kind of issues with this. Let's make sure that we don't have any issues. From JSON course item. Okay, I know, and the reason is also, if you come over here, course controller, we are not returning this field from here. So that's a downloadable res. Okay, all right, let's save it. Now you come over here. Hopefully, okay, we know we did 23. Now over here, of course, this is null because the value was not given. Now, one of the things we could do, we could also check whether the value has been given for those items or not. Let me close this widgets over here. So one of the other ways to do it, like also check. Now, instead of doing like this, we can also convert them to string. Okay, sorry. So here you could also do, if it exists, then use this one, otherwise 0. Now the same for here. If it exists, whatever is that, otherwise use 0. Not sure it should work. I guess this should work. If it doesn't, then we just have to change a little bit. Conditional check. Okay, it works. Okay, it's 0. All right. Okay, the first one was 0. Let's see the second one, 23. Okay, beautiful. Okay, wonderful. So far everything is working. So I want to give it one more try. Over here, I'm going to log out from here, and we're going to see how it goes. And then I'm going to log in as Dylan the best tech info. And 1 2 3 4 5 6. All right, and I'm going to log in. Beautiful. I'm going to come over here. Yes, we do see that our items are being dynamic. Oh, beautiful. Awesome. So what the next thing we want to do over here, work on this go buy button. Okay, well, in this section we'll work on this go buy button. Now first we need to come over here inside this. Right after this load async data, we're going to create another method, and it'll be void type method actually. So void go, we'll call it go by, and then here we'll pass int id. Actually we are going to pass id, and then over here we're going to do the method. All the things we want to do first, we want to load our easy loading, and then we'll do here show. All right, and inside this we'll have indicator and the circular progress indicator, this one. All right, and after that mask, and easy loading mask type clear, and then we'll have dismissed on tap true. All right, okay. Now next, actually we want to create an object which is called a course request entity. Request entity of this one. All right, so we're gonna call and create an object out of it. So here we'll say course request entity, and then here course request entity, this one. All right, now inside this we're gonna pass the ID. So here course request entity dot ID. Actually not this one, we want to have dot ID equal ID. Okay, now here we'll have await, and then here we need to call something like course API dot course pay, like this. And inside this we need to pass the params, but in this case we just want to pass the ID. All right, so course pay like this. All right, now we don't have it, so one of the first thing we want to do, we have to come over here course API, and here we want to create a static method. Okay, so for course payment, and here we would say static and future, and then here we'll use a model which is called base response entity, this one, and here we'll call course pay, and inside this we'll have course request entity as params. All right, and inside this here we'll have await, and we'll do http util dot post, this one, and inside this, one of the first thing we want to do, we wanted to call API checkout, this one. All right, and then over here you want to pass the query parameters. Now where's the query parameters you want to pass? Query parameters you want to pass from params dot to JSON. All right, now this is actually almost the same as this one, but the only thing that we have different over here is, let me see, so I think we need to make it optional over here. All right, so the only thing is that here we are returning course response entity. We'll take a look what it is. All right, so we have this two parameters, one is this and this. After that, here you can just simply go ahead and return base response entity dot from JSON, and you don't need to pass response, but we don't have the response object yet. So here we could do var response, and the error should be gone. Make sure that you have async and await, otherwise we'll definitely get error. So this request is same as this one, but in this case course detail is a checkout, but we are in both situations actually we are passing this course entity and params, and which means that actually we are just passing the ID, because when we will call this one course pay from here, so we're gonna pass the ID to them. And one of the other thing we want to take a look is course response entity. So here base response entity, so we'll have code, message, and data. So this would be coming from our backend. This 3 fields in, we know that. Anyway, so with this we are done, and now over here all we need to do, we need to activate this one. So here we're going to get the result, and you need to pass ID to it. So here we're gonna just simply go ahead and pass params, and we'll pass course request entity, this one. All right, and it looks like we need to add async over here, otherwise we'll have problem. And then here we do var result, yeah, like this. So whatever it returns, we'll print it or save it over here. All right, and after that, when it returns, actually if it does, over here we do easy loading dot dismiss, we just dismiss it. All right, and then over here we want to check the code. If result dot code is 200, which means that we got the correct response. If we did that, actually inside this you want to do something which is called URL decode actually. So here we'll have URI dot decode full, actually this one, and then here we'll have result dot data, like that, and we'll say that it's not empty. Now over here we're gonna save it URL as URL, and for now we can also print it like this. My returned Stripe URL is URL. All right, returned E, and I'll just like this, else. So here print payment filled payment, like this. Okay, so this is what we want to have. Let's go ahead and save it. All right, so now we need to go back our backend first and take a look. So this is what we had early over here. This is a section that actually does actually tries to return us a URL, and over here we are returning the URL. So this is what actually we want, because once we call this one, if your Stripe API key is okay and other conditions are actually checked, then we would be able to actually return a URL from Stripe, and that URL is valid URL, and that URL would contain payment information, and we have to open that URL, and that URL would also show up with a form. So we need to type in our basic information, then we'd be able to make the payment. Okay, so all we want actually over here, returning Stripe URL. Okay, returning Stripe payment URL. In general, that's what you do. If you even use PayPal, eventually it will return you a valid URL. That valid URL would be a page, web page or web view, and that should contain your a form. That should contain a form, and in that form you have to type in your valid information. Now this URL that is written, that's also valid. That's valid based on this key and some other product related info that you have to submit. All right, so that's what we have. Now before even we go, make sure that you come to your Postman and hit this. All right, so previously we had a typo, that's why we had error. Typo in a sense over here, I was using $2 sign, and that was causing problem, even though we saw success over here, success URL, but there was this error. Now later on I figured out I had this double dollar sign. So with our code, that should help us. So this is the code actually that is being returned. Okay, that is being returned from our from over here. You see that this is what we are able to see. So in Postman we are returned with this, and we can also view it over here. That also means that actually we'd be able to view this in our web page, in web view page inside our mobile. Okay, so Stripe returns as a web page actually, and would show that using web view. Now currently our job is to, what we are doing over here is that we are returning this URL. You have to return this in our front end, and we are returning in data section, and that's what we are doing actually. So result data, our data has URL, and over here it decodes the URL, which means that actually if it has anything like this slash and blah blah blah, as you can see, it makes it cleaner. So that's what it's trying to say. All right, so with this you get a cleaner format of URL. Okay, cleaner format of URL. So if you return a URL from your API on call, you should pass it using decode full, and that URL gets much cleaner. Okay, so this is an example, and then we are also returning and printing it over here. All right, so we'll be able to see that. Now, okay, we're almost ready, so we need to make a call to this go by. Now how we do that? Well, we are over here inside this go by button, so I'm going to cut this over here, and I'm going to use gesture detector, and then child. We'll have this one, go by, and inside this we'll have on tap event, and inside on tap event, what are you gonna do? You're gonna call course controller dot go by. It needs an ID, so ID would be coming from state dot course item, and then we know that it has an ID. We are just simply passing that one. Beautiful. So with this we are able to connect with this go by method, and then we'll return and print the URL. So let's make sure that everything is working fine correctly, and then what are you going to do? I'm going to come over here. So we loaded the data, and now I'm going to click on this, It already started, and we do see that we have a bit of issues over here. Here it says that 400, which is a bad request. And let me check whether we have any issues over here. Check out. So let me go over there, go by. We have this ID, and we go to this course pay, and we have this API as a checkout, and then we return the response. Well, first, let's go ahead and make sure that inside this we are able to print our course ID. Print course ID is ID. All right, let's save it. Okay, and I'm going to come over here one more time. Let's restore it. Then let's come over here and we'll see how it goes. Okay, well, our course ID is 2. That part is correct. So we are assigning this course ID to course response entity as an ID. Okay, I found the culprit actually. Instead of this, we have to pass this object actually. I'm sorry. Now let's go ahead and check it. And this time it should be fine. So let's make sure everything is correct. And then let's click on this, go by. Beautiful. You see, now this is being returned as a valid URL, and that's beautiful. Of course, if you go ahead and click on this, you'll be able to view from here. So go ahead, copy this, and actually copy the correct one. Don't copy these things over here. I think this being printed from here. Okay, so if you click on this, of course it's gonna be invalid, but if you just copy this one from here to here, and then you go ahead and put it here, that should work. Okay, let me try it one more time. Okay, so it's working. And over here we say that Laravel course, price 20, and beautiful. So that means that our payment link is working. Wonderful. That means the next job should be actually bringing them the web page, right? We have to do that. And one of the things we could also do right away, you can actually also print this URL data. Let's go ahead and come over here, and right now you can also do result.data like this, so you'd be able to see the difference actually. Okay, so let's click on this. Let's click on this. All right, so here is the first one and here is the second one, and here you see that they have this percentage, and over here we don't have any of this. Okay, these are all removed from here. So URI decode full, that's what it does. All right, thank you.